I guess, to kind of bring the two worlds together, on episode 100 of Bar Down Breakdown, we had Derek from State Champs on. I see you rocking your State Champs hoodie.
Yeah, got it on right here.
And Derek is like a very vocal Dallas Stars fan, like, and has been since like State Champs first started, like always repping the Stars, even though they're from Albany, New York. And like it didn't seem like the Stars caught on to it yet. And like State Champs is now like at the top of the pop punk world. Like they're leading that new wave. And it's like, when the heck are the Stars going to realize that like there's this huge band that loves their team? And then this came out, which I'm guessing you had something to do with, maybe?
I might have had a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of a say in that. The backstory is actually really interesting and pretty funny. It was I think they were in San Antonio, or they're heading to San Antonio. And Derek, I don't know if it was on the State Champs account or his personal account, he tagged Dallas Stars on Instagram because he was wearing like an old school starter jacket. And I didn't see it at the time, but our social media manager that the next day was like, hey, I don't know if you know this band, but you probably do because you're in that kind of scene. They tagged, like the singer tagged us in a photo. I don't know. You want to just take a look? And she showed me the account, and it was like State Champs NY. And I was like, what? Like my jaw dropped. I could not believe it. I was freaking out. First of all, I thought it was just cool that he was repping the Stars. That was awesome. It wasn't until later that day when I was sitting at my desk, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me see where they're at on tour. And it just so happened that the next day, so let's just say I think this was around 5:36 p.m. on a Monday. They're in Dallas the next day. It just so happened to be. So I thought, you know what? Like, let's try to get this guy a jersey. We're able to get approval to get a jersey custom pressed for him. I was thinking about, I remember like when that tour was announced, I was like, oh, that'd be sick to go to that show. It's been a while because I think Real Friends were on the tour and I'm a big fan of Real Friends. But we had a home game that day. So I couldn't go because I had to be at our Stars game. But we were DMing, or our social media manager was DMing with him, trying to coordinate like a meetup. And I was like, oh my God, this is happening. So we were able to present him that jersey at like 2:30 the next day before his show. I think they were about to go do sound check, and we were able to drive down to the House of Blues Dallas and hand him this jersey. And all the while I'm trying to like rein it in a little bit. Like I'm not trying to freak out because, obviously this is a band that, I love. Like Finer Things is is a classic album. I love that album. So just to bridge that gap and have that unfold within 24 hours, like unbelievable. And just to see the excitement on his face, made it all worthwhile. And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna wear it on stage. We're gonna get some photos. And so once I saw those photos from the show, I was just like, this is sick. Like this is what it's all about. And I've always wanted to do this, like in my career. Like, how can I bridge these two worlds? How can we? And it just, for whatever reason, things didn't work out. So to be able to do that and make his day was everything. And now, we stay in touch regularly, and would love. Like we talked about this earlier, but if they ever come out to a game, would love to pump some State Champs in arena. Like that'd be so sick. So fingers crossed that schedules work out and they're able to come back. But yeah, it was cool. And I got a lot of texts from my buddies saying like, "Oh man, I see that there's a State Champs guy rocking a Stars jersey. Like, did you have anything to do with it?" And I was like, "Oh, maybe." But yeah, then I told them the story. So
because
really thankful for that.
Artists tend to do that. Like whenever they're on tour, they're like, all right, I'm going to rep whatever sports team for that city. But like Derek is genuinely a Dallas Stars fan. And like he was telling me a story. Actually, I think Chuck told us a story from Simple Plan. Like when they were on tour together and they were in Dallas, Chuck was like just sitting at like a sushi restaurant and Jamie Benn walked in and like, Chuck being a big hockey guy, like instantly recognized him. So he invited him to the show, and like the Jamie Ben and like his brother was also like in town. So like the Ben brothers showed up at the State Champs and Simple Plan show. And like Derek said, like, I've met the biggest celebrities and rock stars, and I'm like totally cool with it. But like seeing the Ben brothers, like he was like like fangirling, like he was like, this is like the coolest moment. And I think that's kind of like how it works with these guys. Like they are just huge hockey fans. So like when they get that little bit of moment, like they just lose it.
And I was the same way, I've been working in pro hockey for 13 years now. So, I've sat, next to the Sidney Crosbys or the Ovechkins or the Getzlaffs, you name it. Yeah, I see them, no reaction, right? Whatever, just another day. When I get to interact and meet a guy in a band that I really look up to and really admire, like I think that fandom, I feel that again, and I get it. Like if I were to, I don't know, if I met any band member of a band that I really love, I feel like I'd be the same way. I'd be almost like starstruck. Whereas, you see a Tyler Sagan, I guess that's a bad example because I guess I feel like he's like my Cogliano here now. He and I are pretty tight. I like talking to him, but again, it's just like this normal daily, hey, what's up? What's going on? And that's really it. Whereas I see, Derek from State Champs, I'm like, that's Derek from State Champs kind of thing. So it's pretty wild, like how it kind of the roles reverse. So.
Yeah. And I wish the NHL would do more of this, like I have noticed that they had All Time Low playing like down in Tampa for like the season kickoff. And it's like, man, there's so many bands from Tampa who are actually Tampa fans. Like All Time Lows from Maryland, they're not Tampa Bay Lightning fans. Like, why not include like the hometown band that's already a fan of your team to like do that? Like Under Oath, for example. Under Oath is a Tampa band. Like they're all huge Tampa Bay Lightning fans. Like imagine having Under Oath play that. People would be walking into the arena a little more pep in their step.
True. Yes, that would be an interesting to have Under Oath play a full set before a playoff game.
Yeah,
count me in. I'm
there's
down.
no chance that they're losing that game.
No. So, but I think it's interesting because I don't know who it is. Whoever runs the NHL's social media, Instagram or social media.
Yes, they've been doing it a lot recently.
I see those every time I die references, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're getting somewhere now where this wasn't the case maybe 5 years ago. So I geek out about that. I love seeing that. That's cool.
Maybe they're secretly listening to us, Tom, and they're like, oh wait, there's something going on.
Oh God, I wish, man. I really do. I think there's so much like richness in this crossover. I think there's like so much that the NHL like could really benefit from exploring too. I mean, I do love the fact that there are more and more alternative bands playing winter classics and some of the more like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the more like kind of fanfare-ish kind of things that they do, but I mean, I think that there are a lot of still a lot of crossover potential that would really benefit the NHL and benefit all of this alternative music space. But like Every Time I Die is just a clear connection there, and just like the ethos of what Buffalo is, right? The whole Bills Mafia and just people getting rowdy and going through tables and lighting fires and just being like insane. Like this Every Time I Die record, this last record is like the soundtrack to that, So I would love to see more of it. I really would. But I think that it also, it has to do with what's marketable, right? Still, I mean, because alternative music in some spaces is, but in some ways it still isn't. It's still not as easy to sell
at its peak as it was in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and that's true too. I mean, like at the peak, I'd say just when you were tipping over that mid 2000s, when you had your Fall Out Boys and your Paramores and, you know, your My Chems and all those bands that were just exploding. That was the peak of it. And now, yeah, it's toned down a little bit, but, you know, the NHL could be the linchpin of resurgence for some of that stuff. You know,
Maybe the Dallas Stars will be the resurgence of that.
I
You
hope
can lead
so,
the way,
man.
Kyle. I hope.
Let's do it.
Hey, you know what? When I saw comments that were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe my two worlds collided," or "My favorite team and my favorite band are doing something together," like,
Yep.
that is it to me,
Mhm.
right? Like that. If I made someone's day by just doing that, like,
I have another one for you.
okay,
So Bryce Avery from the Rocket Summer, he's a Stars fan. He's posted pictures of him going to Stars games and such.
I'm gonna try to make it happen.
Do it.
Dude, I
Now
love the
that
Rocket Summer.
he was great back in the day, right?
Mhm.
Like, loved him. A little poppy, but it's okay. I liked it. It was catchy.
Yeah, it snowed in Texas in July.
Wasn't he a one man?
Yeah, he was a one-man band.
He was a one man band. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So
See, now I'm
another
going.
one
Now
for
it's
you.
bringing me back. Yeah.
I can't think of any other one. That's the only one I can think of. But
Hey,
I got it
yeah.
for every team.
Hey, I'm glad you popped that on me. So I'm gonna do
Hell
some
yeah.
work now. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
So.
Kyle, man, this was absolutely a blast. Like,
Yeah, it really was great.
it was so refreshing to have this conversation and get a little behind the scenes of Tom and my favorite sport, and loved hearing all of that early 2000s like pop punk references. That is really what Tom and I are like, our friendship was built on. And it's crazy how literally we live 12 hours away from each other, and that's still what brings us together, is talking about that era of music. So totally pumped that we got to have you on, man, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is I don't get to, you know, really share my love for this music all that often, but it's something that sticks with me. It's something that's, you know, very important in my life. So to be able to you know, find people that share that same love is awesome, and kind of just take a trip down memory lane.